This video will cover installation and setup of EndNote 20 for the Windows operating system. To get started with installing EndNote 20 on the Windows, make sure you are on Atom for Paste affiliates, which is atom.paste.edu. You'll be asked to log in with your Paste Portal credentials. But after you've found the EndNote link on that page, you'll be offered two options, one for EndNote for Windows and another for Mac. Click on EndNote 20 for Windows, the download link. Depending on your web browser, you may have a different interface, but please note that the file that is installed is a .zip file and you should not be opening it. In the event that you do open the file, you'll be asked to provide a CD key or a license key, which Paste will provide. But to access that, you have to extract the file. So instead of opening the file, make sure to go to your downloads folder or whichever folder the file has been downloaded and saved to. Once there, locate the EndNote 20 inst zip file. Click on it and then right click with your mouse or two-finger tap if you're using a trackpad and click extract all. So we want to extract all the files from that folder, of which includes a license file. Make sure both of those files are there. And now double click the EndNote 20 inst MSI file, and it will walk you through the EndNote installation process. Before you start this process, please make sure that all Microsoft products have been closed. So this includes Microsoft Outlook, Word, and Excel, PowerPoint, and any of those products. Just make sure they're all closed. So in this case, I have to close Outlook and Word. And then I can continue with the installation process, since EndNote will be partnering with Microsoft products for their in-text citation tool. So once you've finished installing the update, when you first open EndNote, you'll be given two prompts. One is to open an existing library. So if you've used an older version of EndNote, you can open that library. It'll retain all the same data. If this is your first time using EndNote, then you're going to have to create a new library, in which case that's what I'm going to do. When you're creating your EndNote library, it's going to, by default, be set up in your Documents folder. And the default name will be My EndNote Library. You can stick to that name. Just make sure that you save your EndNote library and the matching data folder onto a local hard drive and not in cloud storage, because by saving it in cloud storage, the way data decompression and compression works, it will over time corrupt your library and render it inaccessible at a later date. So for now, I'm going to name it My EndNote Library and save. And now I've started off with a blank library. So once you've started with your EndNote library, you can do a few things to clean up shop, get everything nice and ready for you to use. First things first, on the right side of your screen, you're going to see this kind of obstructive sidebar that says no reference selected. You can actually close this. This will show you information when you do have some references in your library. And then at the top of this, towards the top center, you can see this little bar that provides filters that you can use to organize how you will view your references and sources, various citations. Currently on my end, it's using old data from a previous library and setup, but by default, you would not be seeing name of database provider. And you can change these filters, but I generally steer towards having at least the database and database provider filters available, just so you know where you got, which database your sources came from in the event that you want to go back and run an additional search in that database, or if you're trying to track down a full text. If you want to change any of these filters, you can click on this little gear icon towards the right. And it'll provide you a list of all the filters that you can pick, up to 10. Generally, I turn off publisher information, reference type, and type of work, since at that point I would know what it is. And then I would replace those with name of database, database provider. And in some cases, it might help to keep things like added to library or last updated, so you know which one is the most recent that you've looked at or worked with. So once you've had that all set, you can just click OK and it'll set them up at the top. All right, so now I have some references and I want to look at the citation styles that I will be referring to whenever I type a paper. To check that out, you can quickly double click any reference. And by default, it will have you set up with annotated. Mine is again using old data, so it's looking at APA 7th, but you can change it to whatever citation style you prefer by just clicking on that little drop-down menu where it says annotated and selecting your citation style. So if I wanted APA 7th, I can click on that and it will switch to that. If I wanted something that was not in the list provided, at the top of that drop-down, it says select another style. I'll click on that and it will open a list of the various citation styles that come with EndNote by default. In total, it's 500, but there are more available via EndNote, EndNote's online website. And I can select what I want and just change it to that. So in this case, if I was interested in BMC, I can change that, choose, and now changed it. And you'll note that the preview on the bottom has automatically updated to match that style. And again, so if I wanted to switch it back to APA, there it is. So that's how you would change your citation style. And this would apply to whatever document you're working on as you're using EndNote. Now, in this case for APA 7th, some of you may have noted that there are two rules that apply. One has to do with the title casing of the source of the article title, where it should be sentence case. In this case, it worked out. But just to prevent that from happening in the future, you can actually edit each citation style to fix that rule. And to do that, you want to go to Tools at the top, Output Styles, and then Edit APA 7. And a new window will pop up, which will show you all the information, pretty much how APA 7th is coded by EndNote. And if you want to change anything, you can. In terms of title capitalization, which is specific to APA 7th for EndNote, under bibliography. The default is leave titles as entered. So in this case, I would want to switch this to sentence style capitalization, which is the proper way to capitalize an article title in APA citation style. And once I'm done with this, I'll click on the X specific to the APA 7th window, and it's going to ask me if I want to save any of these changes. Since I've made the changes, yes, I want to save them, and then it's going to ask you to change the name. My go-to is just adding sentence case to the title, so it's APA 7th sentence case. That way I know this is the right one. And I can click Save. And it has not applied yet at this point. You can see that in the drop-down menu, it still says APA 7th. So I have to go to select another style and look for APA 7th sentence case and choose. So in this case, interview by Shirley A. Smoyak. The Shirley is a name, so it's lowercase, so I'd have to change that, but that's a one-time fix, whereas overall it works out. The next fix that you have to apply, that you may want to apply to EndNote as you're getting it set up, is for the journal terms. And for most journal citations, for most citation styles, journal titles have to be fully spelled out before they are abbreviated. So as you can see, for all of these journals, they are abbreviated. So J, Thorac, Cardiovasc, Surge. It most likely is the Journal of Thoracic Cardiovascular Surgery, but I have to tell EndNote what the full spelling is. Under Library at the very top, and then Open Term Lists and Journals Term List. You will need some references to do this, so make sure you have some in your library as you're doing before you can do this part. In this case, you see the 4 journal titles that I have. These are actually all incorrect. I don't want them anymore. So I want to select all of them and delete the term. So now I'm emptying this incorrect list, and I'm going to add the proper list. So in the second tab where it says lists, make sure it says journals, and then you want to import a list. And this list should automatically take you to your EndNote 20 term lists folder. If it doesn't, just make sure you're there. And now I'm going to go for medical text because all of my records or journals are for the health professions. But if you're using a different discipline or you want to include the different disciplines journal terms, then you can do so as well. So I'll do that. And now it added 14,500 terms. And when I go back to the terms tab, this may take a bit to load. You can see a wealth of journal titles that are all spelled out and their various abbreviations. So when I close out, I have to click something else and then back. Now it's the Journal of Thoracic and Cardiovascular Surgery, like I mentioned earlier. You may have noticed that this one for psychiatric Danube did not fully spell out, and this is not a perfect process. It's not going to catch everything, but it will for the most part. And now finally, to organize my references, chances are you'll be working on multiple projects and you'll have references pertaining to different projects. And to organize that, you can do so in EndNote using folders. In this case, they're called groups. So what I can do is I can go 2 routes. I can either create what would essentially be a filing drawer to place individual folders in, and that would be a group set. So at the top, it says groups, create group set, and I can name this filing drawer. In this case, I'll do animal assisted therapy. And now I would have to create individual folders for this filing drawer. So it's groups, create group, and then I can name the specific folders. So I will name this one K9, and I'll create another one for equine. And when I go to all references, I can click each one that I want to place in whichever matching folder. So for the K9 related articles, I will place those in the K9 folder. And the other 2 I will place in the equine folder. So now when I click on the respective folders, I only see those related sources. Alternatively, if I don't want to use this naming process, I can simply create a folder, but I would have to make sure I don't click the animal assisted therapy part. I can just click my groups, which is available to you at default, and then name this specific folder. So if it was for a specific class I'm taking, like nursing 900, then I can create a folder for that. Or if I wanted to create one for my dissertation, I could create that as well. In the same process, I would click and drag whatever relevant references into those respective folders so I can easily identify those articles.